Hello and welcome to Deja Vu. And this is impromptu. I commented some information because I used to buy the Oregonian paper when it was in the material world. Now it's kind of defunct now, but it is online still. And they have a channel. So on YouTube, they will periodically put a story out. A few days ago, they put a story out about a finding in Beaverton, Oregon, of a weasel that showed up on February 8th of this year. I did the computer math on that to find out what the dates were from the 29th of April 2016 when the weasel in the LHC had fried out. And what happened was it met its end, they claimed. And I think it put the collider into some kind of strange. It might have glitched us. I don't know. Okay. But I think that they did it on purpose. I asked my cards about this. I talked to Spirit on the matter using cards, not pendulum. And they said that they were running out of time. Well, actually, I got the 𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗵𝘁𝗶. And they said it was because they had to bring somebody back. Now, I was watching a video at Odyssey about the gods of the old world coming back, Nephilim, and, all the ones that we deem mythology that are not mythology, the ones that would be Egyptian, Greeks, all of them, right? Anyway, long story short, I've been digging in and looking at things like more like their reality than myth. And so you'll have to roll with me on this. I also had something that downloaded into me in the last few days. And well, let's say I'll have to figure out how to share that, but okay. I'm going to have to, I guess, share something very personal about myself to do that, okay? It's related to Max Spears and something he said, and also I think that there is a connection between me and Max. I did it before our charts. I looked at our charts, and I asked tonight, before I go talking too far into this, I had the cards out. I don't want to lose them, so I'm going to go ahead and just say this before I forget. So I'm going to come back to the Haldern collider, but the Max Spears thing, I asked about us because now if I was splintered and if he was splintered and we were doing jumping and say I was part of this super soldier and didn't know I was because they did do that mind altering thing to me, there's a possibility. So I asked and I got the High Priestess, then I got the Six of Wands, and I got the Three of Pentacles. What does that mean? Well, the High Priestess, she is usually, okay, in the way back days, the oracles, the priestesses, right, they would allay with the men, and they would be like a secret keeper and or a fortress to share the secret. There's like something very, very there was something very mystical about a man laying with a priestess in the days, right, of way back. Anyways, I have the Six of Wands here and I have the Three of Pentacles. He and I worked together, it looks like, in some way. There was a crown involving this. So I looked at our charts, I intertwined them, I melded them together. And looking at the way things were, when I consider the Chariot is with my life path, the goddesses that come up, I'll have to look at those. I was thinking about this, and I put those in the chart for he and I. But I'm going to look at the weasel facets because 999 is the inverted 666, and 666 is the number of the beast. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to hold off on the Max talk, okay? I'm going to go right back to the bigger part that I have on the description, which is the um, the weasel talk, okay? So in Egyptian mythology, there was, let's see if I can find the page I have opened. There was beliefs in Egyptian mythology. Why did I go there? Well, I started thinking that maybe they were using a deity from Egypt. You know, I was thinking outside the box, maybe not Apollo and some of the others, right? Okay, so I'm just going to read this. So, weasel as a symbol of curiosity and exploration in Egyptian mythology. It says, in the engrossing spirit of mythology, animals have always played a significant role. They are often used as symbols to represent various traits and qualities. One such animal that has captured the imagination of many cultures throughout history is the weasel. Okay, now if you've been with me a while, you know that a couple weeks ago I had the download come in, pop goes the weasel, and I didn't know why it come out. And then another tarot reader, I heard, or they either said it or they spoke it like a couple days afterwards. I think it was spoken. And I was like, okay, maybe that's why, right? Hey there, Frog. Hello there, Chris. How are you two doing? So I just was like, I let it go. But the only thing is that I kept on thinking of the Haldern Collider, you know, the 2016 event. And then I thought about the song Pop Goes the Weasel, and I was like, none of this makes sense. And then boom, I get this video of this strange encounter that they come across a weasel in Beaverton, Oregon, of all places. So let me read some more here. In the forthcoming disclosure, we will delve into and examine the symbolism of the weasel in Egyptian mythology. The weasel, known for its small size and quick movements, has long been associated with curiosity and exploration. In Egyptian mythology, it was believed that the weasel possessed a unique ability to navigate through the underworld. This ability made the weasel a symbol of clever and intelligence. In ancient Egypt, the underworld was a mysterious and complex realm. It was believed to be the place where the souls of the deceased would go after death. The weasel, with its ability to navigate through dark and tight spaces, was seen as a guide for the souls in their journey through the underworld. The weasel's association with curiosity and exploration can be seen in the story of the Egyptian god Anubis. Now, this is what's intriguing to me. Anubis, and this isn't the only other gods. So I'm not sure because I'm going to have to cross-reference all the different pantheons. But in Egyptian, the weasel is very rich in background here. So Anubis, often depicted with the head of a jackal, was the god of the dead and the guardian of the underworld. In some versions of the myth, it is said that Anubis was accompanied by a weasel on his journeys through the underworld. The weasel's keen sense of curiosity helped Anubis uncover hidden paths and secrets within the realm of the dead. Another intriguing aspect of the weasel symbolism in Egyptian mythology is its connection to the sun god Ra. Ra was one of the most important deities in ancient Egypt. Now, Ra is also the god of Aquarius. Many might know, well, if you have Aquarius, you would know that. Many people might not know that. But why does that matter? Well, we were going to be coming into, and it was taking its time to happen. They were really waiting for us to come into the time of Aquarius, which is where Pluto, which is Hades, would enter Aquarius. And here we are. So we're in the underworld, and the weasel is guiding Anubis. So now, if there are true, say, potentials that the old gods of the old world are coming back or have, and they are stepping into flesh of another kind, or they're walking amongst us right now, then this makes so much sense. So I just thought that I would share this. I am going to read a little farther into this portion of the weasel. There's so much to see on this weasel information, though. It says in Egyptian cosmology, the sun would travel through the underworld at night, only to rise again in the morning. The weasel, with its ability to navigate the darkness, was believed to guide Ra on this perilous journey. It was said that the weasel would use its sharp senses to detect any dangers lurking in the shadows, ensuring the safe passage of the sun god. The weasel's association with both Anubis and Ra highlights its dual nature as a symbol of both death and rebirth in Egyptian mythology. Death was not seen as the end, but rather a transformation to a new phase of existence. The weasel, with its ability to navigate through the underworld and guide souls, represented this journey from one state of being to another. The symbolism of the weasel in Egyptian mythology extends beyond the realm of the underworld. In some depictions, the weasel was also associated with the goddess Bastet. Now, some of you know that she is the cat goddess, the protector of the home and family. Bastet, often depicted as a lioness or a domestic cat, was believed to possess the qualities of both ferocity and nurturing. The weasel, with its small size and agile nature, was seen as a representation of Bastet's protective qualities. Uh-oh. It's hard to navigate this. Just a second. The weasel symbolism in Egyptian mythology is a testament to the rich and complex beliefs of ancient Egyptian culture. As animal lovers, it is always fascinating to explore the symbolism of animals in different cultures. So I think that's pretty much what we get. So it had to do with Anubis, Ra, Bastet, and I thought that I saw Sekhmet earlier. She is the other portion of Bastet because it's kind of like Batman. You know, Bruce Wayne, Batman, Bastet's one side, and Sekhmet's the other side. She's dualistic. I'm going to see if we can find anything on the weasel in Greek, maybe Greek or Roman. No, I think they actually celebrate a lot of Roman. You know, actually, maybe I will type in the Nephilim, because that is one of the old gods that they speak of coming back, and the weasel, but maybe I should be looking up the Dracos too. Okay. I'm not going to find anything on that, I guess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to see about Roman mythology, where the weasel falls in. The rain is coming down here, so how's the weather in your part of the world? Okay, so in magic, they used, in Greco-Roman, they used weasels. The weasel was involved with the birth of Hercules. Interesting. Let me see what I can get here on this site. Greco-Roman weasels, magic midwives, and vengeful brides. Protecting food and grain stores was a vital element of survival in ancient times. So while ancient Egyptians were busy breeding domesticated cats to keep mice and rats at bay, the ancient Greeks primarily used ferrets, which is the direct relative with a weasel, a domesticated variant of the 𝗪𝗀𝗃 genus. These ferrets were popularly employed as household pets in ancient Greece, as they were incredibly effective vermin hunters, able to crawl inside the tightest nooks and crannies. Hey, Miss L, how are you? While this may seem like weasel wording, seeming specific while intentionally vague, I will be using the word weasel to cover the entire genus of the 𝗪𝗀𝗃 mammals. Okay, let me just jump ahead here. Okay, in Aesop's fable, they have Aphrodite and the weasel support these symbolic ideas that deal with deceptive female who fails to become completely domesticated. Okay, they have the Hercules story here. It was a Greco-Roman myth where the weasel made an appearance was during the birth of Hercules in the version told by Ovid in Metamorphoses. Hercules' mother, Alcmena's pregnancy was a result of yet another fidelity transgression by Jove, Zeus, and Alcmena had caught the vengeful wrath of Jove's wife, Juno or Hera. As she labored to give birth to Hercules, she called out to the goddess of childbirth, Lucina, for assistance. Lucina was on Team Juno, though, and sat outside Alcmena's chamber with her arms and legs crossed, preventing the child from being born. So Galantius, one of Alcmena's servants, noticed the goddess's posture and murmuring spells, figured out what was preventing Hercules' birth. She devised a plan and went up to Lucina and proclaimed the birth had taken place. Surprised by this announcement, Lucina jumped up and in doing so uncrossed her arms and legs, allowing Hercules' birth to finally take place. Galantis laughed at the goddess for falling for her simple ploy and paid the price for her hubris. In anger, Lucina changed the servant girl into a weasel. So because she allowed Hercules to be born, she was then turned into a weasel. It's raining up here like crazy. How about down there? Are you getting rain too? Because I can't remember if you're southern or northern. I did the math on the between dates, and I got 990 days between the last sighting, the sighting we had of the LHC 2016 weasel and the one that we had up here in Oregon. There was a camera that caught a weasel, and that was February 8th. Actually, my cousin's birthday. And I thought, well, that's pretty incredible considering if you're a person who believes in the Bible, I mean, that's the inverted 666, 999, right? The opposite. And so to think the sun god Ra is connected to the weasel going into Aquarius with Pluto, that's the underworld. Pluto is the underworld. The whole thing makes so much sense. So it's like they put that out there because we needed to see it. We needed to know this. Somebody had to catch it. I don't know if anyone else caught it, but there's something very telling about the two weasel stories. And then I don't know if you know anything about Max Spears. I have information on that, how it personally may touch. I got the C word here. Catch? I don't know. I'm saying the wrong words because of Mercury retrograde, and it's like I'm all over the place. But also my dream world, my downloads, everything is getting really, really powerful. So I'm just like, I don't really want to miss a chance to share what I can in case I'm able to bring something out that needs, brought out. It's just cold. Yeah, it's really pretty chilly here, but we have rain on top of it. Now, see, this is the thing about Aquarius also that I need to preface. Um, Thoth was mentioned. I want to say with the weasel too. I didn't get to read the whole article, but I think Thoth was also mentioned. Now, Thoth is often depicted as a baboon, and according to one of the Pop Goes the Weasel songs, there's a baboon that comes before the weasel in the song. So therefore, the baboon would be say a reference to Thoth. The weasel would be the next level. So there's something about him coming into the flesh, maybe Thoth, which is Mercury Hermes Trigestra. I cannot say it. Trigestris. I can't say it because my mouth. I'm trying to work on some of the healing for my mouth because I have a messed up tooth. But yes, this deity from Egypt, Greek and Egypt and Atlantis. He actually was like Apollo. He was all over the place. Apollo was too. Hyperborea, Atlantis, I believe, for Apollo, and Hermes and or Thoth, whatever you want to refer to him as. He was known, I think, in Atlantis, in Greece, and Egypt. I think he went all over the world pretty much, but maybe not on the Caucasian realms or the areas of Celtic Welsh, let's say the UK, but I'm sure he'd probably come over to the US. I mean, we did have, see, I used to get visuals. Okay, I used to have dreams. And since it's become pretty privy knowledge to everybody, so it's not just me. So it's like I can't really say I own this. Like I was the first one to say it, cite it, whatnot. But I used to get these massive dreams that I would wake up from that were so powerful. And there was one with the Grand Canyon, and I saw that a great big unit lifted out of there, and it was left excavated, like empty. And that's what it was, cavernous, right? Because it was Egyptian and they were here, they were always here. And I think to some level, if you see some of the tribes that are considered Native American here, they might look like maybe the Cherokees, I'm not sure, Navajos maybe, I don't know which ones, but some of the groups that would be Native American really do seem like they're Egyptian. So I think that's where the heritage would be here in the Southwest, like Nevada, Arizona, just various areas where it's deserty here. Anyways, so back to the weasel talk. Then J.K. Rowling, didn't she name her Jenny and Ron? Weren't they the Weasleys? Weasleys, I think they were the Weasleys. Excuse me. That's just me. I have lemon water here. I'm trying to alkalize myself. Sorry I'm so loud. I'm not usually so loud, but... So we're going to come down here as symbols of powerful magic. Weasel parts were often also incorporated into folk magic, cures, and charms, especially those that dealt with female reproduction. While it may seem like the story of Galantis weasel brides and folk magic have little in common, there is common thread woven through deception by women. The weasel bride deceived her husband by transforming into a beautiful woman. Galantis deceived the goddess of childbirth by uttering lies, and women who practiced magic dealt in incantation and spells and were often seen as dangerous and deceptive. In Isis and Osiris's Plutarch tells us that there are still many people who believe and declare that the weasel conceives through its ear and brings forth its young by the way of the mouth. And that this is a parallel of the generation of speech. This code isn't referring to just any type of speech, though. It is specifically relating to the words of Weasley women. These stories warn against the wiles of women, especially outspoken women, whose words are entrenched in deception, deviousness, and enchantment. Insidiously, these notions are the ones contained in patriarchal stories, which still instill unjust hierarchies into our society, dividing the sexes by creating a distrust of all women. So, a misogynist kind of view, right? These stories add to the oppression of women by devaluing those that will not be housebroken and tamed. So, to call a woman maybe a feral cat or something of this nature, right? To serve their masters. When we consider the plight of the weasel, it was still held in contempt, regardless of whether it was wild and free or a domesticated ferret, kitchen bound and tamed. Despite their household usefulness, domesticated ferrets were still viewed with a degree of disdain, and they were eventually discarded and forgotten once the more controllable and submissive options of cats come along. Perhaps the real lesson here for women should be one of independence. After all, our chances of thriving in the world are infinitely better as a wild weasel than a domesticated and dependent ferret. So it's just kind of a lesson that the weasel teaches, I guess, to the wiles of women's freedom, to have the ability to be free, right? Not free and unattached, but just be able to be treated equally to, say, her counterpart. Anyways, then I come across some information today that was quite interesting. I don't have my pendulum here, and I could go dig around for it, but I don't think I really want to. I don't think I'm supposed to have it right now. But there was a reader that I saw her tagline, and I was like, okay, I've got time for one. I'll listen. Today, I was glued to what she had to say, and it was fascinating because it went way back. It was a reading that actually was not for the current time for me. It was for way back. And she said that the Twin Flame saga is only, and the reason why it went back, it went back to when I was dealing with my situation way back. And so that, I mean, we're looking at the 2022 portal and just before that, and the year earlier and into that, and we're working into 2023. Anyway, so she was getting data, giving the reading, and she said it was past for some. So it could have been like as many as 8 months for some people. For me, it was much longer. But she said that twin flames really only have, or are only such a small amount of people that are twin flames, that it's like 1%. So I'm thinking that means that's one in every 200. No, it's one couple in every 200. I think that's what that works out to. So that means that there are so few twin flames out there. But there are a lot, let me talk. We can't see Mercury retrograde's got me here. There are loads of people in this universe, right? So it's, first of all, who is clear to walk the path of a divine, to find a divine counterpart? First of all. Second of all, who is mentally, spiritually, and physically willing to be in that kind of story, right? So, I mean, I already come to conclusion that I was on some kind of a merry-go-round, a wild goose chase, thinking that I would ever, and that's why I cleared and nullified the fact that I know my spouse is not, but there's nothing like that out there that I'm missing out on. He and I are soulmates. We are older now. Things are different. But the thing is that it doesn't change the fact that I'm going to ascend at some point. I know that I'm cleansing. I know that I am righting my wrongs. I know that life is going to, you know, it's going to be more gentle with me than I might have previously thought. But the thing is, everybody is different. Not everybody is here to have a twin. So that's the thing that I realized. And I was like, okay. And that's why a lot of people, I think, throw in the gauntlet. If they say get into a twin flame situation, that touch and go, that pain, sometimes they don't return to it. There was a woman who used to read, her name was 𝗪𝗏. I don't know if anybody knows of her, but she was like the sweetest, most dearest heart woman. And she had a twin flame. And all I can think about is she disappeared. And I hope that she ended up happy. I really do. Because she wanted her twin flame and her to be in a union so bad. And the thing is that this woman today in the reading that I was listening to, she mentioned how there are a lot of people out there who are lowbrow, like men, who are trying to get in women's beds and maybe look for them for the wrong reasons, and they're pretending just so they can wear their energy, take their energy, use their energy, and or go after them for, say, financial reasons or whatever it is, right? Or just for the sex, right? But there's a lot of that going on. So it's like, you got to be real careful. So this is just kind of like a little public service announcement I'm putting here for anyone who is not yet 𝗪𝗀. This could be your situation. I don't know. Just be very, very on the, make sure that the people you meet seem to be like they are true, totally true, right? Type people. And not after something, like pretending. Because there's a lot of them out there. It's really frightening to think about it. I need to work with my cards and pendulum. Yeah, I have my pendulum, but right now I'm just not about to go hunting it down right now. I'll bet you one of my sons know where they are. No, I know where they are. It's just that I have a hybrid deck here, and I thought I would, just for this channel, I would just work with some of the questions I had. And to be more succinct here, I don't know if you know who Max Spears was, but around 2025, 26, just a second. Around 25, 26, maybe 20, no, not 20, 2015, 2016, I think it was. Max Spears could have been like the 14th year, maybe 2014. It was right after I had my surgery and I traveled back east, and I had a whole lot of things that I did, and my life was just kind of topsy-turvy. It was kind of wild. And I started getting into listening to podcasts and information. I fell into the whole idea of the super soldier talks. I don't know if you know anything about those. He was from England. I'm not sure of the country right now. I did get his birth chart information, so let me see where he was born. I don't think he stayed there. He was born in Britain Ferry, Wales, which that is where I have my mother's side. Scots and Welsh, Ireland, and Scots and Welsh are my mother's side, and that's both her dad and her mom's side. So I'm really strongly in that, like, Camelot kind of areas. And then my dad's side, I have like Irish Celtic and German and French, and I may have Russian. I'm a real mutt. Anyways, the thing is that with his podcast or the information that he put out there, I was so intrigued. It was so compelling. Everybody fell in love with what Max Spears had to say. And so I was like, this is just crazy how he attracted so many people because his heart was so big. He had a huge heart. And he was a Capricorn sun sign. And let's see, his birthday was the 22nd of December, 1976. So he and I are a little bit off in age. I'm older than him a little bit. The thing is, I started looking into this, and it looks like he and I may have I felt there was a connection. We may have had a connection, but this is because I had the Draco situation, I had the splintering, I might have done things because they put me in the gate program. I experienced levitation. I've done plasma with the hands, like the lights. I've done it without provocation. So I don't have control over it. I don't know if I can do it now. I haven't tried, but there are gifts that I had as a child that I think they were dealing with me because they knew I could do these things. That is because I think that they messed with me from the time I was born. But before I was born, this is the reveal I have to share. Okay, so this is going out on a limb, and this I'm only going to put it on this video. I won't share this again. So I will share it after I share the snippet. This is Max, and he was in his interview. That was his last interview right here.
It's a pleasure to be here. I have never done a presentation this way, so this has been the biggest audience really I've spoken to about such personal things, but I feel it needs to be addressed now because it's coming to a climax. This 2016 year, everything is sort of climaxing now.
He said it's coming to a climax. It was 2016, the same year as the 𝗪𝗲𝗀𝗵𝗁 event, which is 999 days before February 8th, which was the weasel showing up here in Oregon. Okay, so I'm going to play the rest of this.
Now, and it needs to be addressed imminently. It needs to be addressed immediately. The build-up over the last 6 months coming to Poland has been tumultuous, to say the least. I have been under psychic attack, under astral attack, and under physical attack to stop me from coming to Warsaw to be able to convey this information to you. I think what it is and what specifically why the attacks have been over these last 2 to 3 months is because of not the technical things that I'm going to address, not because of those technical things. It's because I'm going to lay out what the war is about and why it's going on. And if the people understand and know why it's going on and what it's about, then that gives the ability of the people to be able to stop it from happening. Okay, so just to give a very brief outline of who I am and why I'm here, and why I'm standing here in front of you in the first place, so you understand. I'm just not Bob off the street. So essentially, I was born into a specific bloodline, and I was targeted as an individual. Okay, so I was targeted as an individual from birth. The trauma begins with me. The trauma began whilst in the womb of the mother. So
I'm going to leave it there for a moment, and we'll come back to that. I may be part of a line of similar blood as his. I may be. I don't know. And I'm not going to say for certain, okay? But I will say, long time, no see. Hey, I am her. How are you? It's good to see you. But what I have to say, what I am revealing, is that I had trauma as I was in my mother's womb. What kind of trauma, you probably wonder? My mother was the daughter to my grandfather, and my grandfather was pursued by the MIBs and the other acronym networks, and he'd been military, and he was chased down, and his life ended a week before I was born. I was born early because of my mother's stress. She went into preeclampsia, and I come out about, I think, 5 weeks early, 6 weeks early. I was early, and I come out breech. So I was a backwards baby. I come out feet first. And the trauma had me targeted my whole life. My whole life, I would be put into, say, different kinds of watchful eyes, the GATE program, which a lot of people are talking about these days. And there were other things. And then they would get handlers for me, handlers in different various ways. So I'm going to let Max talk his story here. And I'm going to share that right now before we lose this in sync here. I have it.
So whilst the fetus is inside the woman, if the mother is then traumatized, then that in turn traumatizes the child immediately. Okay, so as I said, trauma began in the womb of the trauma begins in the womb of the mother, and then the child is then taken away from the mother immediately, and then
And I was. She didn't see me for, I think, a full week, and she didn't get to sleep with me near her in the room. I was in an incubator and not in her arms or her custody at the time.
There are a number of different ways to traumatize, to split the mind of the child so that it creates altars, maybe like a honeycomb, a beehive honeycomb. The information about how to fracture the psyche of a child, which has to be done before the age of 3. If it's done after the age of 3, it doesn't have the same effect. So it has to be done before the child is 3 years old. There are a number of different ways to do it. One of the most efficient ways, which is 99% used in fracturing the mind, is electric shock treatment. This information is not new information. I think some people believe that this information was around and just began in the Second World War. It didn't, in fact, begin then. They were doing this 5,000 years ago, and it's detailed in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. What I'm trying to explain is the reasoning behind doing that. The reason behind fracturing the mind is so that when the mind is fractured through trauma, whether it is sexual trauma, whether it is physical trauma, violence, the mind fractures itself and creates an amnesiac barrier around that, so that you don't have to keep reliving the experience over and over again. So after the Second World War, the Nazi scientists had refined the technique of how it should be done. So what they did was, in these amnesiac barriers, they then can place triggers, symbols, colors, hand symbols, sounds, to then access the particular altar that has been created through the trauma. So you could...
Okay. I will play a little bit of it in a little bit. I don't know whether I'm going to get in trouble for doing that much. So I just wanted to give an idea so you know what that... So when I say I'm a targeted individual, I'm not imagining any of it. I was created this way, and everything is laid out as it is purposefully. I think I've had my own MIB encounters as an adult woman. Even as a adult woman that was young, I had moments where, I don't know if you watch the X-Files, but you remember the cigarette, the 𝗪𝗏𝗶𝗵𝗁 man? I had people like that kind of coming up into my stratosphere, like hanging around across the street, smoking the cigarette, keeping their eye on me. I would see them like they were always keeping an eye on me. I had random things happen. And now that I'm talking about Max Beers, and I had mentioned a little bit about the twin flame thing, there were 2 events that I had encountered what I thought were twin flames. And yes, I was married. That happens so often, mind you. So the first one happened when I was in 2014. I was changing my lifestyle significantly, and I wound up flying to meet this person cross country. And I don't know what happened with that. I really, truly don't. Now, with the splintering that they do, I kind of wonder if there was another part of me that did this. I don't know. The whole thing is amnesiac, as that happens to me a lot. And sometimes when I think back, when I've watched that one film Gina Davis did when she's in New York and she's a school teacher, and then she finds out she was actually a spy, an agent, you know, I feel a certain kind of resonance to this kind of character, and it's like a Jason Bourne thing. So I can't explain everything because my memory is not fully. I mean, I've been trying to get things back, but the twin thing, now, Max Spears had a twin nemesis that they had, which was Michael Casbolt. Now, if anybody knows about Max Spears, they know about him. Now, they were twinned, but Sarah was supposed to be his wife or his girlfriend, I forget what, but she was supposed to be his twin as well, the love interest, the divine other, right? And the ultimate thing with me is I scratched the surface on this. It's like, why am I so compelled about Max Spears? Why do I feel such a connection to him? Now, I've been through this twice. The first time I said was 2014. The second time was somebody who lived over towards the other side of the border on the eastern coast. And I won't say where, but that event was definitely somebody who I think was taking advantage of me. And I won't go any further with that. And both encounters, they were younger. Now, what I will say is I did do the chart with me and Max. Never met him. He was a public persona. I never met him, and even if he was alive now, I probably would not tell him the things I'm learning. But I found that when I put our charts together, there's things you can't make up. Okay, so I've done astrology for 13, 14 years. I think that I started studying it 13, 14 years ago with asteroids and other things, right? And the thing I found out by looking at his and my chart this time, because my eyes are much, I will say that I'm a little bit more seasoned. I know what to look for as opposed to when I was first looking at our charts. When I put us together in a melding, which is what I do when I do a midpoint, I have a Venus and Mars, which are the divine counterparts, together in a grand water trine, which is emotion. It is emotion energy, and it is divine energy in a trine, a major trine. And then I take us apart and I look at us in synastry. And I found out that we have, wait a second, let me just, they said it on this one page that I saw, just a second. Yeah. Okay, excuse me. Osiris and Isis were divine counterparts. They were the original. He and I have them on each other. So in a conjunction, we have them together. So it's not just the Mars and the Venus. We have these, and we have other things. I'm not going to go depicting the whole, dissecting the whole thing. But anyways, he resonated with me from so long ago. So now if I ever did have, say, truly a twin, I think that the evidence might be pointing to him, and he's not here. So that makes less complication because, say, I'm married, right? And I'm sure that he and Sarah wouldn't want to have other person involved either. So I'm just saying that this is a very strange thing. I felt that I knew him, so now I have to dig into memory. I have to start going into memory. So I'm going to do some regressing with my own abilities with what I can do. But I'm not certain what I'm going to get, and I'm not sure if there's anybody that I trust. I did go to a hypnosis person when I think it was when I was starting to lose weight before that lifestyle change. But I can be hypnosed. I can be hypnotized, but I don't know if I trust him. I don't know if I trust anybody to do that, to be quite honest, because you don't know who's an agent, who isn't. I asked on Max and my energy together, and I got the high priestess. Now, as I was saying earlier, high priestesses are often considered back in the way back days. The intimacy, the portal, the significance, the secret keeping. Her womb would be the secret keeper. Excuse me. I got the Chariot, the Six of Wands, and the Three of Coins. Now, that means that this was a crowning connection. There's something here that we had agreed to. Now, the Three of Coins can sometimes be, doing something like getting married, right? And if I'm not seeing the divine counterpart, energy here, I didn't get it. I got the Star. I mean, I'm getting majors with him. I mean, I did notice that was something that was happening with him, with me. So the two of us together, I was pulling majors. But anyways, the Star and the Chariot and the High Priestess. Let me just go back and look at one page I had out. Is anybody having problems with their technology? I dropped my other machine after busting the one. Oh, I was going to explain the dolls that I was looking at. I was curious about on YouTube. The X-Files. Yes, I love that show. That is that one and Fringe. I love Fringe too. When I broke my machine, there was a video I saw and it said doll like a natural reality like dolls, like they were making the art of dolls. And I'd seen some realistic dolls back in say the mid 2015 to 2020, but up to current, I hadn't seen anything. And so, because I used to do it a lot more on Pinterest. And let me just say, because of the AI, and I saw a robot that I shared here and how they can create like lifelike people that aren't really people. I was really curious. So I was like going to get that information, but I was busy trying to get ready for bed. I had my boys, I had to feed them. There was just like a lot of things I was doing. And so I wasn't paying attention. My hands were numb. I went to go grab my machine and I threw it because my hands didn't grasp properly. I threw it across and it hit the floor, which it's not carpeted. So it hit the floor and it shattered. Picked it up and I didn't know it until I was looking at it for a few minutes because I assumed that it was part of what I was looking at in the video. And I was also distracted with my boys at the same time. And that's when I realized that it was all cracked everywhere. But it was like almost like I was not allowed to get that information. Like I was like disallowed. But the Mercury retrograde is a lot of what that is also. Things like this do happen on Mercury retrograde. But I feel like I was being stymied, stopped, stalled, blocked. I don't know what. We're getting the walls. Wall is something I put in that last video I put out. Electronics having issues, that too, yes. So yours are having an issue right now? I know that we have one subscriber who was having computer problems. I don't know how she's doing. She did show up at the stream, one of the streams, but I don't know if her computer's better. You're having problems too with yours? That's crazy. It's almost like it's like so invasive, everybody. So I can't remember even what the sign was. Was it Leo? No, Pisces. It might be Virgo. I forget what it was in. Well, I have the High Priestess here for Max Spears and I, and that would be Hecate, Isis, which is the divine feminine, okay? So the High Priestess is the divine feminine. So she does denote the divine feminine, though that is kind of a not so known thing. Most people will only think of the Empress. So I'm going to start thinking of this as well, though it's usually not it would be the counterpart, I guess. I suppose if you were to use the Hierophant or the Hermit, the Hierophant may be more so, but I would see it as the Hermit. I've always thought of the High Priestess and the Hermit as a pair. That's just how I see them. But no readers are the same, right? We're all different. Okay, so The chariot and the star are the next ones I'm going to look at real quick and see what this says. Okay, Apollo. Apollo is the sun god. He would be the masculine for the chariot. Now, I also have in my chart Freya, and that is part of the chariot. So it's Bastet, it's Rhiannon, the horse goddess, Selene, Mithras, Eos, Helios, Nergal. They all are represented with the chariot, Surya. Now, Rhiannon and Freya, they touch me by my heritage, by my ancestry. And Bastet, because I do connect with Sekhmet too. But Apollo, I don't know if that would be, I don't know what Max would identify with. So that is a personal card for me. Also, it's Life Path 7. And I can't remember. He would be Life Path. I have to look at his Life Path. Now, the star, which is the 17th card, is denoted by so you're having problems that needs to, yeah, it's going to take money. You got to wait though. I don't want to alarm you, but if you go take care of it now, it could just, you be throwing money like in the wind. It'd just like disappear. So you got to be careful. Unless you, yeah, screens, batteries, new chargers. Oh, wow. The star, Aphrodite, Thoth, as I was talking about, because Thoth, I didn't have to look it up to know Thoth, because I've seen the particular bird related, the ibis, to him. I've seen it in the card, so I've known it from the very first time I ever touched tarot, because I was involved with the asteroids and I was involved with astrology. So I was really, really boned up on all the mythology way back. Now, because I'm kind of rusty with a lot of it, it's because I get forgetful, because I delve into so many things, and I'm not a spring chicken. So my memory, I try to challenge it every now and then. I have one of those rare blood types, which it does say that I could, if I could actually get dementia. I try to keep my brain working, but that is a concern right there. But anyways, so the ibis is the bird that Thoth is connected with. Also the baboon. He connects with a baboon. And if you see a baboon, that would be him. Saving info on memory cards. Good idea. Well, I don't do that with the droids, and I should have. When I lose things, I usually lose them finitely. I tried to pass as much as I could over before I had my husband chop it up, because he had to go bulldoze it, or he used like a mallet or something. I don't know what he used, but when he used to work, he used to take it and do it in a professional chopper. But Astrea, Hermes, which is the same as Thoth, and Mercury, as well Isis. Is that Isis and Ishtar are actually identified with a star card. And I need to read up on Ishtar, and I might do that here. But Isis, as I said, is Osiris's divine counterpart. Now, I don't know what card he will be identified with. Let me check that out. Probably would be the Emperor, but I'm going to just check that out. Well, I can't find him. So I don't know if he has another name that they would. The cards don't identify him. It could be because he was cut into pieces and they don't really personify him in the cards, maybe. So I guess maybe just to identify him with the Emperor would make sense. Not a computer tech. So you're saying you're learning. So you're not a computer tech, but you're learning what you can. I'm wondering if all those alignments are those planets that are coming on the 28th that Carrie spoke of, because she mentioned it in one of our, I have to find out about that too. Let me just check that out real quick. Because maybe that, because with Mercury being in retrograde right now, and then the shadow, is going to lift and it's going to be full Mercury retrograde pretty soon. That could be what's going on, right? Okay, February. It says 6 planets. Okay. Oh wow. Did you know this? I know that Carrie said this. I don't know if you were here or if you know this on your own, but I'm going to read this. Just let me see if I can get this to show. I don't want AI to involve it. Okay, it says 6 planets: Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune will align in a rare planetary parade along the ecliptic, best viewed around February 28, 2026. So we have 4 days from now. Shortly after sunset, the arc will be visible in the western sky, with Venus and Jupiter being the brightest, while binoculars are recommended for spotting Uranus and Neptune and low-hanging Mercury. It says the peak will be the 28th, and it will last approximately 30 to 60 minutes, and they say look to the western horizon. The naked eye is going to show you Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and possibly Mercury. Now, Mercury, I think, trades spots with Venus, so it could be that that's the idea, because it's not like the moon where he's in the same place, but it's kind of like if you're a Mercury or Venus rising, it's kind of like they both kind of like dance in the sky, a little opposite. They kind of had that thing going on. You'll need your binoculars or a telescope if you want to see Uranus and Neptune. They say that this is the first 6-month planet parade in over 6 months, with the next that will not happen until 2040. So this is going to be a rare event. So I don't know if the visibility is going to be good where you are. Where I am, it might not be. We've had some real gray skies and a lot of rain. So the last time something like this happened for us, and it wasn't this big, but it was like, I think Venus was lining up with something. Oh, I can't remember. She was more notable, more noticeable. She was more obvious in the day sky, aligning with what was the earlier signs of the moon showing up. You can kind of see a faintness in the blue sky of the moon, but the sun was out. And then I think there might have been a 4th player. I can't remember what that was. It might have been Mars. Maybe it was Venus and Mars. I don't remember. That happened in I want to say it was 2005 or 6, maybe something like that. So yeah, if you can get out there and see it, yeah, that's a pressing timeline right there. I don't know that I'm even going to try, because I really don't think that I have a horrible time seeing where I am, any of it really. Excuse me. Okay, so the Osiris myth is the most elaborate and influential story in ancient Egyptian mythology. Now, wait a minute. I was going to share, if I can get, share how they were a divine couple, because the love between Osiris and Isis, symbol of eternal life. Okay, it says, love between Osiris and Isis, symbol of eternal life. In the rich tapestry of Egyptian mythology, few stories resonate as deeply as the love between Osiris and Isis. The divine couple embodies not only the essence of love and loyalty, but also the profound themes of resurrection and eternal life that permeate ancient Egyptian culture. Their myth serves as a powerful symbol of the cyclical nature of existence, where love transcends the boundaries of life and death. Historical context of Osiris and Isis. The myth of Osiris and Isis has its origins in ancient Egyptian religion, where gods were integral to understanding the natural world and the afterlife. Osiris, the god of the afterlife, was revered as the ruler of the underworld, while Isis was celebrated as a powerful goddess of magic and motherhood. Within the Egyptian pantheon, Osiris and Isis held significant roles. He represented resurrection, agriculture, and fertility, and she symbolized loyalty, healing, and protection. Their relationship was not merely a love affair, it was a reflection of the ancient Egyptians. There I go, talking like I'm a Mercurian mess over here. Beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife. Their story emphasized the importance of family, loyalty, and divine intervention in human affairs. The love story of Osiris and Isis. The union of Osiris and Isis was celebrated as a sacred marriage, signifying the balance of male and female energies in the universe. Their love was not only passionate, but also foundational to the stability of the cosmos. However, their love story is marked by trials and tribulations. Betrayal. Osiris's brother Set was envious of his power and plotted to kill him. Loss. After Osiris was red rummed, his body was dismembered and scattered across Egypt. Despite these challenges, Isis' unwavering devotion drove her to search for the pieces of Osiris's body, demonstrating the enduring nature of their love. Her determination to restore him is a testament to the strength of their bond. Symbolism and resurrection and eternal life. Osiris is often depicted as the god of the afterlife, symbolizing the promise of resurrection and the cyclical nature of life. His death and subsequent resurrection highlight the belief that life continues beyond physical demise. Isis played a crucial role in his resurrection. She searched diligently for the scattered pieces of his body. Using her magical abilities, she was able to reassemble him and bring him back to life. This act not only symbolizes the power of love, but also the eternal cycle of death and rebirth that is central to Egyptian belief, reinforcing the notion that love endures beyond the grave. The cultural impact of Osiris and Isis. The love story of Osiris and Isis significantly influenced ancient Egyptian art, literature, and religious practices. Their relationship was celebrated, though, through art depictions in carvings, paintings, sculptures, often illustrated their unity and devotion. The ritual ceremonies honoring their love were commonplace, reflecting the deep-seated beliefs surrounding resurrection. The legacy of their story continues to inspire modern interpretations of love and spiritual, emphasizing the universal quest for connection and understanding. Comparative analysis with other mythologies. Across various cultures, similar love stories echo the themes found in the tale of Osiris and Isis. Notable parallels include Persephone and Hades, a narrative of love intertwined with the cycles of life and death; Orpheus and Eurydice, a tale of devotion and the quest to restore a loved one from the underworld; These stories share universal themes of love, loss, and resurrection. Yet the love between Osiris and Isis stands out due to its profound connection to the ancient Egyptian understanding of the afterlife and the divine. Their enduring love serves as a model of fidelity and the transformative power of love. Modern interpretations and relevance. The myth of Osiris and Isis retains its appeal in contemporary culture, manifesting in various forms of artistic and literary adaptations. Their story resonates today, offering lessons on love, loyalty, and the cyclical nature of life that continues to inspire. In conclusion, the love story of Osiris and Isis encapsulates the essence of eternal life and devotion that is central to Egyptian mythology. Their relationship symbolizes the themes of resurrection and the cyclical nature of existence, reflecting the profound beliefs of ancient Egyptians regarding love and the afterlife. As we reflect on their legacy, it becomes clear the story of Osiris and Isis is not just a myth. It is a timeless narrative that resonates with the human experience, reminding us of the enduring power of love and the hope of life beyond death. Anyways, I would say that they're the two most looked to entities that we would consider the divine counterparts. So, like, her sister was Savage. Actually, it was their brother Horus that did the savagery. There was actually a sister who was Nephesis, I think, and she was a high priestess, and she was the equitable. She was likened mostly to Aaron in the Bible. So she was, because Moses was powerful, but Aaron was more so. And so Isis was supposed to be less powerful than her sister when it come to her magic and her divination abilities, but her love was what made her powerful with Osiris. So that her heart was actually what made her powerful with her magic, with him. So in essence, they were all siblings, all four of them, according to what most of the documentations I found. They were all related. So it was Horus, Isis, Nephesis, and Osiris. But there may have been more, but those four are related anyway. And I'm not sure. I think Horus, I think wanted the power that Osiris was being given. He wanted the position. And I think it was more that than anything else when he had him. Yeah, he wanted the crown for himself. He wanted the glory. Let me see if I can get Max back. Now, sometimes because it's not on YouTube, it goes back. It reverts. No, it stayed where it was. Okay, just a second.
Theoretically, create an assassin or a spy or or an actor or a musician within these and within the altars, and the person who went whilst in the altar would have no idea that they were anything else but that. So a spy or an assassin that doesn't know that he's a spy or an assassin is the ultimate spy or an assassin, because he can then be questioned or asked a million times, and because he is not aware that he is that, he becomes the ultimate. He becomes ultimately hidden. He is unaware himself what he is, so he can't be tortured or questioned. Okay, so that's just a very basic overview of how trauma-based mind control works. It is done through. I mean, there's more complexities involved in it, but it becomes very graphic. The techniques used to do this are extremely graphic and extremely horrendous. So I'm going to leave it probably there in that respect. This particular King Charlemagne here, he was not a nice man. He was a tyrant, and he displayed reptilian characteristics to the extreme. Reptilian characteristics being divide and conquer, fight or flight. It's essentially about the higher reptilian DNA. So this king, the higher the reptilian DNA, the more reptilian characteristics they display. So it's more about dominance, control.
Okay, so back to the Dracos. So the JE character with the island, and my experience with the Draco, whether it was or wasn't him, I'm not certain, but I did ask, and it was according to what I got. And I think that he was hopping around the world, and he was kind of like this individual who was hunting the already TI'd individuals. So there's a network of people who were already on their list, or they kept track of, and this is like an insect kind of thing, the colonies, if you will. So they wanted to check out the bloodline. So the girls and the boys that would be ferreted out and brought into that world, and then the ones that didn't get, whether they lived or didn't, they were of a particular either bloodline. There was a connection that they all had. He was paramount in the deciding, and he was part of the Draco group, now the Rothschilds and all the other groups that they talk about as Illuminati. It's turning out everybody is actually Draco, but we all have a considerable amount of fight or flight in us. So we have like a Draco within us, even if we don't carry the traits they do, because we don't have as much as they have. So the point is that we all have a particular kind of Draco quality to us, which is fight or flight. That is I'm trying to think that there's a center in the brain that gives you that reptoid thinking, like you have to figure out how to survive. And that's where that comes from. Now, I think that they created us this way when they brought us from Lyra, and we were humans that were something that a lot of the people with little hats, okay, I use that term because I can't use other terms, they're the ones that kiss walls over in a chosen world, okay? They're the wall kissers, okay? They will call us Goyim if we are not like them, okay? Excuse me. Now, if this is the case, I'm burping lemon water. I don't mean to be this way. But this is the thing. When they were pursuing all the individuals that they were going to target, they had been already targeting them from birth. They'd already known who they were. They'd already been either making them models, making them movie stars, making them actors. Sometimes they were honeypots. Sometimes they were into espionage. They didn't know it, just like he said here. What you just heard Max say, it's true. They didn't know it. They show us in movies. They disclose things for us in movies, music, TV, all of it. Geena Davis did a film in 1999, I believe. It could have been a year or two before that, maybe. But she did a film called The Long Kiss Goodnight with Lawrence Fishburne. And in the film, she is depicted as a school teacher who had amnesia, and she became a school teacher. But she didn't know that she had a history, and she started living her life just like an ordinary life. And she was a mother, and she got married, and she had a life. But she previously was, and we have a visitor from one of our sweet little flirts here, but she did take up a life, and I don't remember how long. I think it was like about 10 years later. I can't remember, but they come for her, because her amnesia was going to be lifting, and it started to lift, and they didn't want her to give up, to exploit them. But anyways, if you get a chance to see it, it's kind of like Robert Ludlum's Born Identity. Some of these espionage stories are loosely based on, I think, what was really been going on. There's another one that's really good called The Falcon and the Snowman. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's not really about splintering, but it is about a little bit of the spy world. And so the thing is that we call them black sheeps when a family person is part of another family, or they're part of a, say, a well-off family or connected family. They get called black sheeps, which is, I think, the same as a scapegoat. I'm not sure. And scapegoat's probably a little bit better because, I mean, I'm not trying to put a racist connotation in there. I don't have any interest in doing that. So maybe it is scapegoat. But the idea of having one selected sacrifice in the family means that they would let all the bad things happen to that family member, and they would get rewards for it. So it's kind of a, oh, how do I say this? It's karma dumping, but it's destiny swapping too, in a way, because the family is getting something out of basically putting abuse upon one family member. So it's kind of like saying, I'm going to play chess, and this is going to be, I think it's the rook. I can't remember. The pawn. No, the pawn, right? So the pawn, okay, the pawn on the chessboard would be the scapegoat, the one that is blamed for everything or put in a position of sacrifice. And that is what I am. And I'm presuming there was something of that nature maybe with Max. I don't know. And I don't know. I didn't learn if he was an only child. No, I was. And we have heritage that is similar. There are things like that. And Bastet, Sekhmet, yes, they're synonymous, they are. But Sekhmet is the one that is the way, she's a healer as well, but she's a warrior fighter. She is brutal. And that's who you were talking about when you said she's savage. Yes, especially when she gets her her beer. She loves to get drunk, and you're probably hearing purring here. And he is a kitty. He says, you're talking about my goddesses. He's funny. Hi there. Where were you at? Where were you hiding? Were you in there? You want to lay here? And where did I stop off at? This was Max's last, this was his final interview in Warsaw. And what ultimately I ran into when I was looking him up today, because I was like, well, why does he keep coming back up with me? Why do I need to look at this further, closer? And then I noticed they put on the death certificate, natural causes was the cause of his ending. And that is sure in the hell not true. But that's what it said. And he was vomiting black goo when he left. So if you don't know the story of Max Spears, you should look into it. But they've scrubbed a lot off the internet. Anyways, they didn't really scrub it off the internet. They scrubbed it mostly off of YouTube. But you could still find it. Maybe at, I think there's BitChute still. There's Odyssey. Maybe Rumble, if you know where Rumble is. It's got a green logo. I don't go to Rumble so much, but there might be Max Spear stuff there. Super Soldiers was based, I think, mostly in the UK, but we do have Americans involved with it. Now, the offshoot or connected, say, group are the ACIO, the ACIO, yeah. Peter the Insider and Jessica 𝗪𝗀𝗵𝗵, I think is her name. They report on the situations to do with that. And so there's a lot to learn. And it isn't a bad idea if you think that, if anyone thinks that they have memories, or, you know, maybe they have memories that they're aware of, maybe there's repressed memories. Those are good offshoots to look into to help spark your memory if you have anything that's trapped and you need to cork. because obviously a lot of us have been messed with, and that is where we're targeted. And so that gives you a little more idea of why the mystery is so intense if you are a targeted person. Yeah, Odyssey might have the best selection, but everything is going paywall now. So it's like everyone wants money for this, that, and the other. And, you know, you're probably like me. It's like, that's kind of one of those things that's difficult to get much of right now. And there's always something else you got to do, right? Like how your computer and everything. And I was thinking, well, do I want to get another machine? Because I adapted and become so adjusted to having that one that I dropped. And I thought, well, you know what? It's like throwing money in the wind. And I have to get used to having less. So maybe I should just adapt. But I'm hoping that I can. I did, no joke, I did drop the one I'm using. I did drop it today on its front on the glass, and it hit just like the other one. And I'm like, oh no. And so I don't know whether I should just. I'm not supposed to be watching and listening to videos. I'm not supposed to be online. Maybe I'm supposed to just sit still because it's my hands that are the problem. So, are you going to wake your brother up? Are you trying to wake your brother up? You're so darn cute, aren't you? You are so darling. Yes, you are. You're handsome. The most beautiful motor, don't you? Yes, you do. Both do. So, what do you think? Are you being the night owl here? Are you? Yeah. So precious. Go talk to them. Okay, I think that I know somebody wants to conduct an interview here. So, is there anyone else here? Is there anyone being quiet that's one of the subscribers? Or and Miss L, has work been busy? I am really going to look into the charts though further, because, and also I'm going to see if I can go under some kind of a guided hypnosis, maybe through one of the videos, and see if I can get information about my connection with him. Oh, my kitty is playing with the cards now, and he's actually trying to reveal them. Okay, show me what you want me to see. He's pulling the cards down. They're on a stack, and he's pulling them. He's literally pulling. I'm not kidding you. He's pulling the cards. He's the reader. He says, I will do the show here. He says, I am a reader, and I want everybody to know. Okay, what did he reveal? Okay, gave me the 3 of Swords. I don't know if anyone is hurting right now. And he gave me the Hierophant. It could be that there was a marriage that maybe, I don't know. He gave me the 3 of Swords and the Hierophant, and now he's laying down. He says, I did my work. I don't know what that was about. And I want to say a real quick shout out to Roxy and to Jeffrey. Thank you. I see that you two showed up at the wall, the video of the wall. And Roxy said certainly tonguing before or something for the 28th for sure. So she's talking about the lineup. And they both answered about sleep. And yeah, I did see it was a blood moon for the eclipse. Thank you for letting me know that, Jeffrey. 3:04 a.m. Maybe I'll be asleep. Maybe I'll be asleep. Yes, that was heartbreak. And it looks like it was centered around maybe a marriage that didn't last, because that was the Hierophant with, or it could be a Taurus that's going through some kind of heartache right now. And he wanted me to see him. He was making a point to bring them down like dominoes. He's like, look at these cards. There was something. Oh yeah, 76. I was going to check something. He was a fire dragon. I think I looked at his. I think I looked at it. Oh no, what happened here? Two, 2, 1, 2. For me, meow. She's saying meow to you, honey. Let me see if I can get his life path. I'm curious what his life path was. He was a life path 3. So the weasel story is really fascinating because I think that it was more planned. I don't think that weasel went into 𝗪𝗀𝘀𝗺 on its own accord. I think that whole story was a lie. I think they really were using magic. If you look at all the rituals, the dancing, Shiva, everything else.
And conquering, dominance and conquering. So this bloodline, this particular man was that. Okay. Now within this particular bloodline, you're always going to, because we're living in a dualistic, the 3D world that we live in is dualism. Everything is dualistic. So you have up, down, left, right, black, white. Everything is dualistic based. So even within a bloodline like that, you're going to have good and bad within it. Okay. So within the war that's going on is a war of DNA. So the reason why they interbreed, the reason why they're looking for and interbreeding with each other is because they want to make sure that they maintain this particular DNA within their family line. Because this particular DNA gives them exalted abilities, gifts, psychic gifts. Yeah, I'm going to go with the word psychic. Telepathic, telekinetic gifts. So they inbreed, not because, well, partly because they are twisted, but on the other side of that, it is because they are trying to maintain this particular strand of DNA within their bloodline. So to give an analogy, if understanding that the 3D world that we live in is illusory, it's a three-dimensional illusional world. The makeup of everything around us is made from geometry, sound, light, and then physical. This is important to say. So everything around you is vibrating energy. Everything around you is vibrating energy. This is not solid. Nothing is solid. It is manifested through, as I said, geometry, light, sound, and then there. Because it's like an analogy would be, we are in a matrix system, which is like a virtual reality computer game where it's a master-slave reality. So the masters would be the 0.01%. They have kept the secrets and the cheats for themselves, and they have left the slaves with amnesia and with no understanding of what's going on. So Charlemagne is connected to the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail is not an actual sacred object. It is symbolically an object, but in truth, the Holy Grail is a bloodline, is a particular bloodline called, and in French it's called sang royal, which means royal blood. In the 1950s, there was a search for. So there was an influx of incarnations of higher vibrational beings coming down to this planet to try and change what's been going on here, because it has been.
I hope you have a good night. I hope things work out, Miss L, for your computer. So I guess I'm all alone, but I'm going to keep doing this because between the Lisa Renee things that I've been reading and what Max Spears has to share, I think that I want to impart some of the wisdom he has here while I am here with this particular video. So I'm just going to share a little more of it, and then I will speak a little bit about a couple things I found out, and then I will just be off on my way.
Essentially a prison planet for 50,000 years, really. And so there was an influx in the 1950s and the 1970s of higher vibrational beings. Now they know the controlling consciousness that is in charge at this moment of this planet is what is and are aware of every incarnate being that comes into this planet. Through sexual union between a male and a female, energy is then sent up and vibrates up through frequencies. They have technology to be able to see where, and then a soul is then attracted to a lifetime, and then the soul will then, this is just one way, a soul will then come to the womb of the mother, and they can track this from happening. Okay, so in the 1950s, there was something called Project Oak Tree. Project Oak Tree, this is the truth about Project Oak Tree. Project Oak Tree, the oak tree itself is symbolic of Lucifer. They use the term oak tree. Oak tree is synonymous with Lucifer. So in the the controlling power that has at this time power over this planet is aware that there are very, very, very powerful beings. I don't know what you would want to call them, demigods, gods, whatever you want to call them. That there was an influx of them coming. So they didn't know where and when they were going to be here, but they needed to find a way of tracking them. So I'm going to address two different projects, that I feel are significant, that I think that everybody should know about. So Project Oak Tree was because this reptilian vampiric consciousness that has control of this planet is basically a fear-based. They are a fear-based consciousness. If they weren't a fear-based consciousness, they wouldn't need to control everything. If you're in fear, you have to control everything around you. If you are centered and balanced in yourself, you don't need to control things around you. So I'm going to address this. So Project Oak Tree is connected to Project Ibis. Okay, and there is my connection to 𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗪. 42 children was...
𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀𝗪, they showed Thoth. So Thoth is what he is referring to, which is Mercury, Hermes. So if you see the star card, he is really loosely telling us a bit of why we're tracked, how we're tracked, and why the abuses and why those things that have occurred and who are the players behind it. So basically the deities, everything right down to the 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, which is what goes between our blood, our blood. And some people are possibly in part related, and they are victimized often if they are related. A lot of times we are all related to some degree. So we're useful in some degree. But this could make sense as to why they were only using particular, say, groups, ethnicity groups on the island, because they were trying to keep it as close to their line as they could. So the throwaway family members, the ones that didn't mean anything to them, right? So these are people that were not part of their clique. So like, say, the Rothschilds and all those names, they have their own little clique, right? So I'm going to play more of what Max is sharing.
Were selected from mothers that were born in the 1950s. So the children would then be born between 1972 and 1978. So the mothers were born in the 50s, and their children would then be born between 1972 and 1978. They were all male. There's no females because they're looking for so male energy is explosive, creative, external creative energy. Female energy is receptive, nurturing energy. So they're looking for male energy because it's the male energy that externally builds the world around us. So out of the 42 children, they were looking for these. This is the Anunnaki who put this project together. They did it out of fear because they knew that these beings were coming to this planet, and they needed to make sure that they had their hands on and had control of these particular beings. They didn't know which ones were going to be which. They didn't know. Some were hidden. Some are put into the entertainment industry, and some have been hidden throughout their lives. They were looking for, and whether or not you believe in these deities, it doesn't matter. For me, this is my perspective, and I'm giving my perspective, okay? They were looking for specific beings. The beings that they were looking for were Hermes, Hermes is Thoth, and they were looking for Lucifer. They were looking for the Christos, or how would you say, Yeshua, Jehovah, Satan. Satan and Lucifer are two different individual beings. They are not the same being. So they're looking for these particular beings because they are incarnating. Now, as time has gone on, more powerful light beings are incarnating, and more powerful dark beings are incarnating. It's becoming more and more and more, and building and building. So this particular project, what they did is they, because the Anunnaki are genetic masters, they are genetic masters on every level. So they went to the pyramids at Giza. They also went to the pyramids all over the planet, and they took. You want to go? Yeah. So what they had done is they remembering this consciousness, this Anunnaki consciousness, has a complete understanding of the inner Earth and the surface Earth. So they know exactly where all the energy grid lines are, all the ley lines, all the dragon lines, and they know where for example, they know where Ramesses was buried. They know where they were all buried. So they went and took pieces of DNA okay, from different ones. They took pieces of DNA, then they put them together, and then they put them into a womb, a carrier, a female carrier. So in doing that, the oak tree was to find the female carriers in the 1950s. For the females, they had to be specific females that would be able to carry such powerful beings. So it's called oak tree because, I mean, they were looking for a number of different beings, but they were primarily looking for Lucifer, because they're following revelations from the Bible as a script. So they're following it to a T as a script. So they are looking for that child that was born in the 70s to then continue I suppose you could possibly call, I don't know this for a fact, but I suppose you could possibly call Lucifer maybe the Antichrist. I don't know. That's a possibility. And so they needed to make sure that they got that correct. They had been looking for, there was about 4 or 5 different boys and they weren't sure which one was that one. Each one of these children has also incarnated into multiple lifetimes beforehand. Yes. Okay, so.
Okay, we roughly went through about 19 minutes worth, and I'm going to leave it there. So the ones with the little hats, from some of the findings that I'm finding, and it resonates really well, are actually the reptoids, the Dracos, the full-on, right? So that's why 𝗳𝗊 shapeshifted. Now, I don't know if you have to be like, say, higher bloodline when it comes to that bloodline to do the shapeshift. I'm presuming that's the Luciferian bloodline. Now, 𝗳𝗊 was born in, I think, the 50s, so it would have been somebody younger than him. And I don't remember if he had a child. But his name is not 𝗳𝗊 also. It's Marius Robert something. Trying to remember the last part of his name. But his name is not truly the one that we are told that he has. So before I move too forward out of this whole discussion that I had been giving on me and Max, the 7th house, which is like encroaching the marriage house, is where our Osiris and Isis are together. When we're merged together, they are merged together. And it's the same chart that our Mars and our Venus are in a beautiful water trine, which hits all water houses. So ultimately, I may never have known him that I know of. It might have been because we were put into super soldier scenarios. I don't know. But I kind of feel there was more to it than we realized, than I realized. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I'm sure that we were, anyone that's been splintered has been paired with many, because they do that. It's kind of like the spy networks. If you watched any of the 𝗳𝗏 films or any of the other ones, and they're just different players, and it seems like if they are playing with memories, then they're the perfect spy because they don't remember who they're actually, what their initiatives are. And if you watch Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I mean, they seem to know what they're doing. They don't seem to have forgetfulness. I don't know, but a lot of these stories are actually based on the forgetfulness, the amnesia. So anyways, this is not holding, I don't think, the interest in many people who are coming around. So it's kind of one of those things. You're either into the information I'm sharing or you're not. So I'm talking about what are they up to with the weasel. We just went through a 10-year, 999-day window for the weasel. The weasel is a magic character, okay? Symbol. And I still haven't got to the surface on that. Oh, I was going to share the gematria on that. So let's go back to the weasel real quick. And so when I did the gematria with the weasel, I put in the date that the LHC, they claimed that this happened. And so I just didn't do it with the year. I just did the date because the date itself may have been significant. April 29th, I spelled it out. And then I looked at the English gematria. The best is yet to come, United States of America. And that is where the playing has been happening, is the USA. I mean, all over the world, but USA is definitely the hot spot right now. And we had the eclipses that X'd out parts of the, and maybe whole of the US. We had those big eclipses. Now, Max Spears was just talking about the year 2016. That was the year the LHC and the weasel thing occurred. And so here's the other things we have. Who is the Antichrist? And he said he thought, could it be Lucifer? Now, I don't know. We have February 14 here, which is 14th is Valentine's Day. We have divine intervention. So how does the weasel fit in with divine intervention other than the song Pop Goes the Weasel, connecting the bamboo with the weasel? Because the weasel worked going into the underworld, as we were saying in the reading with Anubis, and the baboon would be Toth. So, I mean, there's something to this, okay? Then we have Martin Luther King Jr. Time is running out. That is what was most pressing for me right there. The phoenix is rising. And so what God was that? That's what I was thinking. What God would that be? What phoenix would be rising? And then we have the Venus frequency. It says tomorrow is Friday, but Friday was the day that this occurred. It was a Friday. It says, we didn't start the fire, the song by Billy Joel. Adrenochrome supply. Okay. I mean, that's a word that you don't usually, and so it come in. So it's like, why would that equate with the date in which the weasel would be in the LHC? Then we have slave to the system. Okay. Wrap your head around that one with what we're learning about right now and what is being done, right? Donald Trump arrested. Now, what year was he arrested? He wasn't until after 2016. I want to say it was 2019 or 20. 19 or 20, I forget which year. So I'm going to look at page 2 here. Owned by Saturn. 3 upside down triangles. That could be a symbol for something. The Great Wave as the actual slavery. So that is something that was going on then. And we weren't totally privy of this, right? It's come out everywhere. I think we've all been under amnesia and spiritual, say, amnesia and sorcery and everything that they could do to keep us in the dark and the unknowing of what they're doing to us and those around us. To everybody who's been victimized, including ourselves, we have trouble grasping or recognizing the full picture. And then there's something here about access the divine records. So were they biding their time? Were they using this 𝗪𝗃𝘀 device to skim through timelines to get their hands on divine records. And the weasel was used, maybe through magic, like somebody changed their likeness to a weasel and sacrificed themselves. Because there are ways, now if you've watched some of the woo-woo shows, which probably are likened to what you can do with magic. For instance, in True Blood, Sam wanted to escape his body so he could get away. So he would shed his clothes and he would turn into another animal. One episode, he even turned into a fly so that he could be so small and get out, and then he could, be out of a place where he was like within a cage, right? So accessing the divine records, there's something to that. Excuse me, I'm going to type in the weasel at the 𝗪𝗃𝘀. Okay. Well, it's 12:66 in Hebrew, and it says it's a massive scheme, year of tribulation. And then in the English, it's 8:52. I don't know who Ivan Pavlenko is. It says trillionaire. Gavin Newsom come out here. The male hidden one. I have not trusted Gavin Newsom since the beginning. So maybe he is a player, one of these people, these entities in which I've been speaking on. Maybe he is one of them and we don't know this yet. 101. New beginnings. Great spirit. Happening now. The word terrorist. 𝗪𝗲𝘀𝗵𝘁𝗶, which is related to World War II and this whole idea of, let's say, being of some particular genetic makeup, right? What they wanted to do in World War II and what they're doing now. So it was related to that. Hypnotized, the whole world is, right? So it was something about that. It put us in a hypnotism. Gold and silver. 𝗀𝗪𝘀𝗀. January 6th. Okay, so the weasel equates to January 6th. Tell me that's not something odd. Okay, it also equates to grasshopper, 136. And in English, we're going to look at it further. The Book of Enoch, Northwest, Moon Matrix, George Orwell. Hello, anyone listening? George Orwell, that's where we're living at right now in the US. We have COVID virus. In 2016, it was nowhere in our minds that that would happen. So it's here. Wolfenstein, which is a really awesome game that was put out by the makers of Doom. I used to play it. I think it was called Wolfenstein. I think so. But it was like the Nazis. You were fighting against the Nazis. It was a really good game. You might want to look into it. It's an offshoot of Doom. We have Huntsville, like Huntsville, Texas. ISIS commander. And bulletproof. 7 stars. That's Pallades. December 12th. temperature. The last page I will use is the seventh sign. Now, that was a Demi Moore film, and I believe she was giving birth to a very special baby, kind of like a Yeshua kind of situation. But it's been some time since I've seen it. It was a baby that wasn't supposed to be born because I think it would change the world. It was a peaceful baby, a baby that would one day have a very meaningful reason, right? So that equates to this weasel. Rolls-Royce, the car, Resident Evil, which is about biolabs and creating evil, evil things to take people down, bioviruses, things like that. Hieroglyphics, lymphocyte, which has to do with cancer, lymphocyte. Civilization, skinwalkers, that's a mutation, mutator, somebody who can shapeshift. Okay, so by means of magic or some other way. And now that it's after 2 hours, and I probably have proficiently bored anyone who may have stepped in, there is important things here, but I think I'll continue and do a special 𝗪𝗪𝘀𝗶 special on this weasel story. And maybe we will do that in lieu of doing Max and the ley lines and our chakras and everything that I'm getting from the Lisa Renee Ascension Glossary. That is all I have. This has been Deja Vu. Thank you, everyone who's come through. I appreciate you. And I hope to see you all soon. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and say be well.